Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest. Not a bit of complice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge. They don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like. Wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifted. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. It is Sunday, January 9th. What is it? The 18th? 18th, 2026. Thank you all for spending your Sunday evening with me. If you guys would be so kind as to hit that like button on the way in. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We do have a goal of 5 super chats. So if anybody would like to support the channel, that is your way that you can support the channel. We are here to talk about Nicki Minaj. I know she has been in the news lately because she has been supporting our president over here in this divided states of America. And sitting down with folks and just, been getting dragged a little bit on the internet. But she got other problems. She has legal issues of which she is going to have to deal with. And because I was not on YouTube, I believe when this lawsuit was originally filed, I am going to go over the lawsuit. So if some of you all are like me that didn't really know much about what was going on in this lawsuit, then I think we need to start in the background so that we know how we get here. All right. And I understand there are a lot of Nicki Minaj fans. So I want the mods. We're going to try to give y'all a little leeway. But there's just certain people you talk about where people just get ridiculous. And I'm just reading from the documents. I'm just reading what is on the docket and I'm informing the intellects of the legal news. That's all I'm doing. It ain't personal. It's nothing to that effect, but people take it personal for some reason. So y'all be on the lookout. But let me speak to a few y'all before we get started. But like I said, I'm going to get started rather quickly because I didn't know about the lawsuit. So honestly, it wouldn't really make sense to just go into what is going on now of a filing that happened on a couple days ago. I think it was filed maybe Thursday where I first saw this filing against Nicki Minaj. So this is what we about to do. We are about to govern ourselves accordingly. Be respectful in the chat. I do love the commentary in the comments, but we got to be respectful. I know it's your fave, but I'm just reading it. I'm just the messenger. I didn't create the documents. I don't represent any of these people, and I'm not making $1 off of it except from what TLC just sent, the $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. Said I made it. I've been missing all the lives. Hey, intellectual, I'm glad you made it because we gonna need your support in this here chat because we talking about some people's faves. Nicki Minaj. Let's get into this. Hey, for always forever. Thank you so much for coming in and supporting as always. Mox the beauty. I know I'm reading that all wrong. But thank you, sis. Thank you for supporting the channel. Empath VB, thank you for supporting the channel. Of course, Dev is in the house. My sister says she got the block finger ready. You know, she know what it is. She don't care. Just saying. She don't care. Shirley, thank you so much for coming in. Call me darling. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Tyrone, good to see you. Amy Jones, good to see you all. All right. There's a few of y'all in here that didn't go to the evening service over at church, so you coming over here. I appreciate it. So let's pull up this lawsuit so we first know what we're talking about before we get into what we got to get into on this Sunday. Oh, I think we got another. See, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's from T. Go Say It. Thank you so much for the super chat. She said, thank you for always bringing the facts. Thank you for always supporting the channel. I really appreciate it on this here Sunday. Let me see. This is the complaint. Hold on. Here's the complaint that I will be talking about. So this is Thomas Wiedemuller versus Kenneth Petty and Onika Tanya Mirage J. Petty, aka Nicki Minaj. And so when you get into the parties, you all know when you start the complaint, you start out with the parties. And we start out with Wiedemuller, who is a German citizen residing near Frankfurt. At the time of the incident, subject to this complaint, Wiedemuller was employed by SAFE, Securities Service, GmbH, I don't know, but they say safe, okay? So we're going to go with safe because that's what we can pronounce. As the head security, Wiedemuller provided security-related services for the Nicki World Tour concert that took place on March 22nd, 2019. So this was before I was even on YouTube. And that was at Festhalle in Frankfurt, Germany. And we're going to call that the concert. Upon information and belief, the defendants, which would be Kenneth and Nicki Petty, they reside in LA. Upon information and belief, the defendants have traveled outside of California on a regular basis since July 2019. Defendant Minaj performed at the concert, and defendant Petty was present at the concert in support of his then girlfriend Minaj. So this is before they got married. So jurisdiction and all that is proper, apparently, because nobody fought it. So then we get into the factual allegations. On March 22nd, 2019, in connection with his employment as SAFE, Wiedemuller was assigned to provide security for the concert, which took place at Festhalle, a multi-purpose arena located in Frankfurt, Germany, which can accommodate up to 8,500 people seated and 13,500 people unseated. Upon information and belief, Minaj was the musical artist headlining the concert, which was a part of the Nicki World Tour, a 19-appearance concert tour which took place entirely in Europe. Upon information and belief, Live Nation GSA coordinated at least a portion of the Nicki World Tour, including its German tour dates. Upon information and belief, Petty accompanied Minaj on the Nicki World Tour. Petty was present at the concert in Frankfurt on March 22nd, 2019. Near the end of the concert, a concert goer breached a security barricade dividing the audience from the stage and was able to get on stage while Minaj was performing. In obtaining access to the stage, the concert goer bypassed a female security guard stationed at the stairs leading to the stage. Upon information and belief, the concert goer did not cause that female security guard to suffer any injury. The concert goer did not cause harm to any other person, including defendants, nor did he damage any property during or after his limited time on stage. The concert goer simply danced on stage to the music, so he was just feeling it. Then the concert goer was apprehended by Minaj's personal security team in under 10 seconds after obtaining access to the stage and was escorted off stage seconds later. He was on stage for approximately 15 seconds in total. When the concert ended, Minaj and a substantial number of people from her entourage confronted the female security guard backstage, as well as the security guard who was manning the barricade that the concert goer breached. Initially, Wiedemuller was around the corner when his confrontation began, but given his role as the head of security, he joined the discussion to see if he can assist. He's like, all right, let me go on over there and see what's going on. Okay. At first, Wiedemuller advised both of the other two security personnel that they should silently listen to Minaj's complaints, even if she was screaming obscenities and falsely accusing them of endangering her. So Wita Mueller was like, yo, chill out for a minute. We're going to listen to what she has to say. But according to him, she was over there like cussing people out and going off and going hard and doing what she does, what we seen on the internet anyway. So then she says Wita Mueller's view was that because no harm had been caused, Minaj would vent her concerns and eventually calm down. They're like, we just gonna let her yell, get it out, get it all out, let it go, and then it should be cool. So then he says Minaj was irate during this confrontation and screamed at the female security guard that she was a effing bitch and accused her of having put Minaj in physical danger. During the confrontation, the female security guard was in tears, apologizing to Minaj. Unsatisfied with the apology, and despite having no harm being caused by the concert goer who obtained access to the stage, Minaj began to video record the confrontation with the female security guard and demanded that she tell Minaj's fans via the recording that the female security guard failed to do her job and put Minaj in danger. During the video recording, Minaj continued to scream obscenities at the female security guard. Upon information and belief, Minaj intended to upload that video to her social media or otherwise post it online for her fans to view. So Wita Mueller interceded once Minaj attempted to video record the female security guard. Then Wita Mueller told Minaj that she obtained an apology from the female security guard and that he was not going to allow the female security guard's life and work reputation to be ruined because of a video posted to social media. So Wita Mueller escorted the female security guard away from Minaj and her entourage. When Wita Mueller interceded, Minaj became even more enraged and screamed at Wita Mueller, like, what did I do? She said, who do you think you are? While Wita Mueller was leaving the immediate vicinity with the female security guard, Minaj threw her shoes at Wita Mueller, but they didn't hit him. Upon information and belief, Minaj informed Petty of her interaction with Wita Mueller and the female security guard. Upon information and belief, Minaj was aware of Petty's aggressive and violent history and propensity for using physical force. Following Wita Mueller's interaction with Minaj, Wita Mueller returned to work, assisting in emptying the venue, but was later summoned by the venue security team and told that someone wanted to speak to him backstage. When Wita Mueller appeared backstage, Petty, Minaj's then boyfriend, was there to discuss the incident further. Petty asked Wita Mueller who he was and told him that he had been disrespectful to his wife earlier. Wita Mueller responded by informing Petty that he was the head of security and that he had not intended to disrespect Minaj earlier. So Wita Mueller told Petty that he had previously explained to Minaj that the female security guard was apologetic for not having apprehended the concert goer before he reached the stage, that no harm had come to Minaj or anyone else in the venue, and that Wita Mueller had only stepped in when Minaj began to video record the confrontation with the apparent intention of posting it online so that the female security guard will receive abuse from Minaj's fan. So Petty explained to Wita Mueller that there was a misunderstanding because he had thought that the female security guard was a fan and not another member of the security team, because at the time of the video recording confrontation, the female security guard had already changed out of her uniform and into her street clothes. After discussing it further with Wita Mueller, Petty was generally apologetic and they parted ways amicably. Once again, Wita Mueller returned to perform and work in connection with securely closing down the venue. Nearly 2.5 hours after the concert ended, venue security once again informed Wita Mueller that the artist, i.e. Minaj, wanted to speak with him. Wita Mueller reported to the hallway outside of Minaj's dressing room, where he encountered Minaj, Petty, and two of Minaj's personal bodyguards. Dino Anders, another member of the security team assigned to work at the concert, was also present. Minaj once again aggressively confronted Wita Mueller. She repeatedly screamed obscenities at him. She shouted, "Who do you think you are?" and demanded to know why he interrupted her when she attempted to video record her confrontation with the female security guard. She once again referred to the female security guard as an effing biatch and falsely insisted that Wiedemuller must have a physical or romantic relationship with her. So Wiedemuller remained calm during Minaj's tirade and again tried to explain that the female security guard had apologized and that the concert goer had caused no harm to anyone. While Minaj continued to scream at Wiedemuller, Petty repositioned himself behind Wiedemuller and out of his eyesight. So he like backing up, trying to get in the blind spot. Without warning, Petty punched Wiedemuller from the side and made contact with the right side of his face. Upon information and belief, Petty was provoked by Minaj. Wiedemuller is unaware of whether Petty hit him with only his fist or with any other weapon. So Wiedemuller was instantly in extreme pain and was momentarily disoriented and had to step aside around the corner to collect himself. So basically, he wanted to cry. He didn't want to cry in front of nobody because he got sucker punched. And he was like, y'all ain't about to see me cry. So he had to go and get himself together. Okay? So he then collected himself. After 2 or 3 minutes and under the belief that his jaw was broken, Wiedemuller turned the corner again, returning to the location where Petty hit him outside of Minaj's dressing room and found that all 4 individuals, Minaj, Petty, and the 2 bodyguards had fled. So he go to collect himself because he like, this man broke my jaw. And he go back and they all gone. Poof, they done left the scene. Upon information and belief, Anders witnessed Petty's attack on Wiedemuller. So he said, we got a witness. The police were called and Wiedemuller made a statement and reported the vicious attack to the police. Due to the severity of his injuries caused by Petty, Wiedemuller immediately sought medical treatment from the medics present at the venue who sent him to the hospital. Wiedemuller was admitted to the hospital that night and remained there for approximately 10 days. Oh, the hospital kept you? You know, they try to get you in and out like the drive-thru. 10 days, my. So Wiedemuller sustained a broken jaw as a result of Petty's brutal attack. 2 days after being admitted to the hospital, he underwent the first surgery on his jaw. Following his discharge from the hospital, he was unable to eat solid foods for some time and was required to sleep upright because if he laid down horizontal, the concussion that he sustained will cause him to experience extreme headaches. So Wiedemuller was prescribed painkillers during and after his hospital stay. Wiedemuller has endured approximately 7 additional surgeries and will still have to endure approximately 6 more. Oh, he messed you up. He got messed up. We got some more super chats. We're going to take a moment to adjust the super chats. Thank you so much. Eve has many faces. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the platform. Impact VB said, with the husband of hers, let her lose the house behind the foolishness. She is windmilling for them people just to stay in America. Leave immigrants, Jose, and take immigrant Nicki. I'm sick of both of them. That is from Impact VB. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. That is what you call a sucker punch. And it's easy because what was probably happening is he was talking. So if you're talking and somebody hits you in the mouth while it's open, it'll get that jaw to break that jaw. So there's that. Oh, we gotta finish. This is so it's already. Oh, okay. Let's finish these facts before you guys get me all off and I start giving more information before it's time. All right. So basically, Wiedemuller now has 5 plates in his jaw, and his jaw essentially needs to be fully reconstructed. Woo, he was hurt for real. In total, Wiedemuller was unable to work for approximately 2 months following the concert due to his injuries sustained as a result of Petty's senseless and ferocious attack. Upon information and belief, while Wiedemuller was still in the hospital preparing for surgery, German police issued a warrant for Petty's arrest. Upon information and belief, The German police attempted to apprehend Petty on the following day, March 23rd, 2019, when Minaj was performing the next concert on the Nicki World Tour in Cologne, Germany. However, Petty was not at that concert. So he got out of Dodge, I guess. They was like, oh, we'll find you at the next concert. So he got out of Dodge. Upon information and belief, Petty did not board Minaj's tour bus and instead hire a car to drive him out of Germany and to Amsterdam, specifically to evade arrest by the German authorities. Did y'all know this? Notwithstanding Petty's evasion of the German authorities, upon information and belief, the German police carried on a criminal investigation of Petty's assault of Wiedemuller, and the warrant for his arrest remains outstanding in Germany. As a result of Petty's unlawful assault and Minaj's perpetuation of a hostile environment and reckless disregard for Wiedemuller's well-being, Wiedemuller has suffered significant damages, personal injury, emotional distress, and economic loss. Nicki has that money. Man has the best lawyers in the world. Shows that if you have money, you can probably get away with it. So here's the thing, guys. So wait a minute. Let's go. We almost finished. The first cause of action, you guessed it, battery, because Petty hit him, and he did so intentionally to cause harmful and offensive contact. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, IIED, you know that is the standard almost in all these tort cases that we've been over. That is the second cause of action. And negligent intention of emotional distress as well. And then negligence and civil conspiracy. And then we have the prayer for relief. So the prayer for relief is they were asking for compensatory damages in an amount to be determined at trial, punitive damages because they want a deterrent mechanisms here. You should be taxed a little extra for what you did, so people to know you can't just go around suck a bunch of people. I don't care who you are. Emotional distress damages in an amount to be determined at trial, attorney fees, interest, and costs associated with this action. And any such relief that the court says, you know what, I'm going to give you a little bit more. So what ended up happening is, apparently there was a motion for default. So there was a default, meaning there was no response to this lawsuit. All right. So apparently there was a default in this case. And so that is where we are today. And the default judgment, so first it's you try to get an order for default. Typically the clerk will sign it. Then you have to do a motion to get a judgment of default with an actual amount to it. All of that was done. And there was no response, apparently. And so on January 15th of 2026, the security guard woke up and said, you can afford it, and I want my money, and I want all my money. All right. And so what they did was filed a motion, because they're a judgment creditor now. You owe them money. There is a judgment against you. A notice of motion and application for an order authorizing the sale of a dwelling. Okay. So let's get into the memorandum of points and authority. So that is why we are here today. But if you're like me and had no clue, I think I heard little rumblings about what happened and maybe articles here and there back then, but I never really knew the facts of what happened. So that's why I wanted to go over what the facts were alleged, the allegations in the complaint. And then there was a default that was entered because there was no responses after they were served. And so we're here today, and now they're trying to get a house. All right. So let's go over this. Memorandum of Points of Authorities preliminary statement. This application presents a straightforward issue. Would the court-ordered sale of Minaj's multi-million-dollar Hidden Hills residence generate proceeds sufficient to satisfy any superior liens on the property and the applicable homestead exemption and still leave enough to pay at least a portion of the $503,318.02 judgment in this action? So yes, and there's the footnote. In March 2024, this court entered judgment in favor of the judgment creditor, which is the security guard, a security guard who was assaulted backstage at one of Minaj's concerts in Germany. That assault, instigated by Minaj and carried out by her now husband, Petty, fractured the judgment creditor's jaw, requiring multiple reconstructive surgeries and forcing him out of work for months. So he got this judgment back in March of 2024. And so he's trying to get his money. So he said the answer is clear. The dwelling is subject to a $13,358,000 mortgage lien and a $722,151 homestead exemption, together just under $14 million. The property's current fair market value is appraised at $20 million, which yields approximately $6 million in equity beyond the lien and exemption. The amount is more than sufficient to satisfy the judgment, plus accrued interest and enforcement costs. The applicable statute does not require the judgment creditor to exhaust other collection efforts before applying for a sale of the dwelling. The only question before this court is whether the property's fair market value exceeds the mortgage lien and homestead exemption. Here, there is no doubt that the sale of the dwelling would satisfy the entire judgment with millions to spare. So he said nothing says that they got to go to other avenues to get this money. They just have to show that their judgment can be satisfied even with the liens that are levied against the home as of now. Although it is regrettable that the extraordinary measure of forcing the sale of Minaj's dwelling is required, that result is entirely the product of her intransigence is not making payment. I need to put my glasses on. Minaj is a global music superstar, estimated to have a net worth of anywhere between $150 to $190 million. And so they have a footnote, I guess, that shows that she's the richest female rapper in the world, I think is what it says. I'm squinting. And is reportedly the highest paid female rap star in the world. There is little doubt that she is highly capable of paying the judgment in full, and yet she has refused to do so despite multiple written requests for payment and levies served upon several of her suspected creditors. The judgment creditor should not have to wait any longer. The judgment debtor's refusal to pay not only squanders this court's limited resources, but also mocks the authority of its judgment. The judgment creditor specifically requests that this court order the sale of the Hidden Hills property without delay so that he may at last be made whole. Yeah, this is deep, y'all. It's deep. Make sure you hit the like button. Hit the like button, y'all. So here are the facts. On March 22nd, 2024, the judgment creditor was awarded a judgment in the amount of $503,318.02, which is the judgment, due to the significant physical harm he suffered at the hands of the judgment debtors. On July 19, 2024, the judgment creditor filed an abstract judgment with the LA County Recorder's Office. On September 13th of 2024, the judgment creditor obtained a writ of execution on the judgment, and on April 11, 2025, obtained a renewed writ. So they got all of those attached as exhibits. Nearly a year and a half later, and despite the judgment creditor's diligent efforts at enforcing the judgment through both written requests that the judgment debtors voluntarily make payments and through service of notices of levy on 7 different suspected creditors of Minaj, The entirety of the judgment and post-judgment interest and enforcement costs remain unpaid and outstanding. Basically, they're saying she ain't paid none of it. Each of the 7 potential garnishees upon whom the judgment creditor served notices of levy have either responded that they do not have any accounts payable to Minaj or otherwise failed to respond at all. On or about October 31st of 2022, Minaj purchased the property and they got the location and all of that, and they got the deed. And shortly thereafter, according to a quitclaim deed, a spouse of the grantee, Patty, remised release for, it was a quitclaim deed, the dwelling of Minaj, again described as a married woman as her sole and separate property. So there was a quitclaim deed on one of these properties. The judgment creditor stipulates that both judgment debtors reside at the dwelling, as evidenced by the fact that Petty is registered as living at the dwelling on the California Megan's Law website. Ain't that what y'all governor did too? The governor put out the Megan's Law, put the whole address and everything out there. They said they were able to confirm it by looking at the Megan's Law website. I don't even know how to, whoa. And pursuant to the law, a property deed search performed through Accurate, a LexisNexis risk solution product, confirmed that the dwelling is owned by Minaj. 2 separate letters were sent to each of the judgment debtors at the street address for the dwelling, and neither has been returned to the sender. The equity that Minaj holds in the dwelling substantially exceeds both the mortgage and the applicable homestead exemption based on the documentary transfer tax paid by Minaj at the time of her purchase of the dwelling, $21,450 in October 2022. The purchase price that she paid was $19.5 million. And according to the LA County Tax Assessor's report, the dwelling now has an even greater value. The 2025 current road valuation of the dwelling land is $8,323,200. And the valuation of the dwelling's improvement is $11,964,600. These people did a whole lot of research on this property, okay? They said it's more than enough for them to get their money. They said it's a total value of $20,287,800. The only lien on the dwelling other than the judgment creditors is Bank of America deed of trust to secure the original indebtedness of $13 million and the current homestead exemption of $722,151. The dwelling has no other liens or levies placed upon it. Neither a homeowner's nor a disabled veteran's exemption has been claimed on the dwelling by either of the judgment debtors. On September 16, 2025, the LA County Sheriff's Department provided notice by mail to the judgment creditor of the levy that was placed on the dwelling. The judgment creditor hereby timely makes application for an order authorizing the sale of the dwelling to satisfy the judgment, post-judgment interest and enforcement costs. Oh, this is terrible. So they go into the argument as to why they are allowed to do this. I don't even know what to say. Maybe that's why she has smoke with Newsom. They were going back and forth about when the Trump situation happened, and Newsom came back and mentioned the Megan's Law as Newsom's comeback. Like, he was like, oh, okay. Well, let me put up your information about your husband. Nicki will realize she made a mistake when Trump tosses her to the side for no longer being useful or drawing his eye for something. Trump hasn't even mentioned her. I think she's just a cheerleader. And some people, let me address this real quick too about that. There were some people that were saying, oh, and I seen some celebrities say that, which I was kind of surprised, that it may be because she's trying to help her husband. He has a state case. So really the person she was beefing with, which was Newsom, he probably would have been the one that could have helped her out a little bit, or tried to help her out. or I think it might have happened in New York, so he may need Governor of New York. Nonetheless, it's a state case, and therefore federal is not going to help you. Trump can pardon you if you were convicted of a federal crime. Yeah, so if it's in New York, that's where he need to be going, trying to ask them people. So, but the thing is, it's the governor of the states that you would have to go to. So when people have made that statement, I'm like, he doesn't have a federal. He wasn't convicted of anything federal, so it really would not help her from that aspect. Now, could it be favors here and there? Perhaps, but I'm just saying logistically, you would need to go to the state governor to try to get you a pardon. You say you think it's because she not a citizen? She not? Is that what y'all saying? This is alleged. I don't know. I never looked into her citizenship. But I seen it was a petition online where it was thousands of people trying to deport her. So I just let me see. Let me look at the petition, see what information the petition. Change.org. Petition to deport Nicki Minaj back to Trinidad. It got 60,000. Oh my gosh, you guys are Barudo. Hold on, let's pull this up. So here is the petition. Deport Nicki Minaj back to Trinidad, and they got her with Kirk's wife. Nicki Minaj's actions and words have taken a turn that has left many of her supporters and those who once found solace in her music feeling deeply betrayed. Once a voice for the LGBTQ plus community, she has now flipped her stance, asserting outdated and harmful notions such as boys should just be boys. These statements aren't just insensitive, they undermine the very foundation of a community that looked up to her for advocacy and understanding. This is personal for those of us who watch Nicki rise as a beacon of hope, only to feel abandoned by her shift in values. Her public platform carries weight and responsibility, and her recent statements are a stark contrast to the solidarity she once showed, leaving many feeling deflated, disillusioned. Furthermore, Nicki's status in the United States is not based on citizenship, which raises questions about her continued presence here despite her divisive actions and statements. So how is she here? What is she here based on? Deporting Nicki Minaj back to Trinidad would serve as a reminder that public figures need to be accountable for their words and the broader impact they have on diverse communities. It's not just about one person's fall from grace. It's about holding everyone to a standard of compassion and consistency, especially when they possess significant influence. Sign a petition to urge immigration authorities to review Nicki Minaj's residency status in the United States and consider deporting her back to Trinidad as a response to her harmful rhetoric. Let's stand together to advocate for a community that is inclusive and respectful, leaving no room for abandonment based on outdated ideologies. Every signature counts in making our voices heard, and fostering a sphere with public figures can be evaluated on the principles they claim to uphold. Wow, y'all harsh out here in these streets. That's pretty harsh, guys. My gosh, y'all. If Nicki she might have like a work situation. Wasn't that like what Tory Lanez had? A work type visa where you can come over here and do some work. I don't know. What is her status? I'm just Nicki Minaj. Citizenship status. That said, so this is what Google said. Nicki Minaj is a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, but is a long-term U.S. resident, having moved to America at age 5. She has stated publicly, including in late 2024, that she is not a U.S. citizen despite living there for decades, paying millions in taxes and holding lawful permanent residency, a green card. but faces public discussions regarding her non-citizen status due to her political statement. So she has a green card, is what it sounds like. So she has permanent residency. She ain't here. It don't sound like she here illegally. She has spoken about entering the U.S. as an illegal immigrant as a child, though her mother's permanent residency status changed her situation. So I don't know. So they're basically saying they want the people to look into it, probably because it just sounds a little iffy. They don't know. So yeah. Yeah, they doing a lot. They doing a whole lot, child. All because she said she don't she, she I don't know. Lady can't have her opinions, apparently. If your opinions change, evolve, or anything, it's going to be a problem. This is what I'm gathering from this conversation. Okay, let me see. So let's get into the argument. The legislature has enacted a detailed process that must be followed in connection with a forced sale of a dwelling in which a judgment debtor resides, as opposed to a judgment creditor's ability to levy and execute upon. For example, a judgment debtor's bank accounts or other personal property. When it comes to real property upon which the judgment debtor resides, the judgment creditor must obtain a court order authorizing the sale of the property. And then it has the case law, and it states that the interest of a natural person in dwelling may not be sold under this division to enforce a money judgment except pursuant to a court order for sale obtained under this article, and the dwelling exemption shall be determined under this article. A dwelling is defined as a place where a person resides, and a homestead as the principal dwelling, one in which the judgment debtor resided on the date the judgment creditor lien attached to the dwelling, and two in which the judgment debtor resided continuously thereafter until the date of the court determination that the dwelling is a homestead. Thus, pursuant to CCP Section 704.710, in order for the judgment creditor to enforce a money judgment against a real property that the judgment debtor uses as her dwelling, the judgment creditor must follow certain procedures. So they saying they following the procedures so they can sell it because she lived there. So first, that the judgment creditor had to record an abstract of judgment with the county recorder's office. So they had to file it with the county recorder's office, letting them know about the judgment. Second, the creditor must apply for and obtain a writ of execution from the clerk of the trial court. The writ of execution directs the sheriff or other levying officers to enforce the judgment. And it looks like on September 13, 2024, the judgment creditor obtained the original writ of execution. On April 11th of 2025, plaintiff obtained the renewed writ of execution. So they said they did that. Third, the creditor provides instructions and a notice of levy to the sheriff or other levying officer to execute the writ by levying upon the judgment debtor interest in his dwelling. The sheriff or other levying officer achieves this by recording the writ of execution and notice of levy with the county's recorder office and serving copies of these documents on the debtor. He said on September 16th of 2025, about 3.5 months ago, the LA sheriff provided notice by mail to Nicki and them, and the sheriff had placed it on the dwelling. So they said they did that too. By telephone, the Los Angeles sheriff has confirmed to the judgment creditors council that notice of the levy on the dwelling has also been served by mail upon Minaj, and that personal service of the notice of levy will be made to the LA sheriff upon Minaj as well. 4, the creditor must apply for a court order specifically authorizing the sheriff or other levying officer to sell the dwelling. By this motion, the judgment creditor is applying for such an order. So they did all the steps, and they said now they're getting to the bottom of it. The last part, they got to apply to the court for a motion authorizing the sheriff to sell the property. By this motion, the judgment creditor is applying for this. The application must be made under oath, and in addition to describing the dwelling, must specify 1, whether or not the records of the county tax assessor indicate there is a current homeowner's exemption or disabled veterans exemption for the dwelling. 2, whether the dwelling is a homestead and the amount of the homestead exemption. And 3, whether the judgment is based on a consumer debt. The application must also specify the amount of any lien or encumbrances on the dwelling, the name of each person having a lien or encumbrance on the dwelling, the address of such person used by the county recorder for the return of the instrument creating such a person's lien or encumbrances after recording. The declaration submitted in support of this motion is made under oath, provides the common address for the dwelling as well as the legal description, states that the LA County tax assessor's records show that no homeowner's exemption or disabled veterans exemption have claimed for the dwelling, stipulates that the dwelling qualifies as a homestead, states the applicable homestead exemption, attests that the judgment is not based on a consumer debt, identifies the only other liens on the dwelling, which is the mortgage that secured the property. And 5th, the trial court reviewing the application must determine whether the fair market value of the judgment creditor interest in the dwelling is likely to produce a bid at the sale sufficient to satisfy the amount of the homestead exemption, and 2, the amount of all liens and encumbrances senior to the judgment lien being executed. A homestead exemption does not preclude sale of the home, but entitles the homesteader to receive the value of the exemption if the property is sold to satisfy a judgment lien. At the hearing, the court will order the sale of the dwelling subject to the homestead exemption unless the court determines that the sale of dwelling would not be likely to produce a bid sufficient to satisfy any part of the amount due on the judgment pursuant to section 704.800. If the court determines that a bid for the judgment debtor's interest will likely exceed the homestead exemption plus all pre-existing liens and encumbrances, such as there is some amount available to satisfy even a part of the judgment creditor lien, then the court must grant the application for sale. So this is what's tripping me out about all of this. And you guys might have picked this up too. What's tripping me out about all of this is the judgment creditor knows, based on this, what I'm getting, that Kenneth Petty ain't really got no money. This is what I'm getting from this. Because I don't understand, if they were not married, at minimum, why she ain't just, even if they were married, why she didn't do a motion to dismiss, because she never personally hit him. Battery is you have to have some proximity, even with negligence. You can't just say, oh, it's upon information and believe he did this at the ordering of her. Obviously, she didn't say, go punch him right now or something. That ain't what was said and what we just read. Now, it can be assumed that the reason why he did it is because his girl was upset. But I don't understand why you didn't just file a motion to dismiss this case and you get out of it because you have the money. This is why they needed to try to connect y'all two together. Because if he just went after Kenneth Petty, what was he really about to get? No offense. I don't know what the man does, but I'm just saying. Generally speaking, all they're talking about is Nicki Minaj's money. That's what I'm saying. So if they saying she the highest paid, she got millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, they were able, by not responding, they were able to get in her pockets like that and actually get the money. Does the man deserve something for somebody punching you and sucker punching you from behind or from the side and breaking your jaw, and you have to have multiple surgeries and reconstruction surgeries? You ain't got no arguments for me. I'm just saying, I don't understand why she ain't just respond to this, because she didn't do it. Now, she might have been talking a whole lot of smack, but it don't sound like he talking to her and then he just creep up behind and then all of a sudden just like sucker punches. What? I don't know. You said, I mean, threw a shoe at, not spit on. I don't even think that, but it didn't connect, right? I don't know. I just see a bunch of stuff of you trying to take what's hers. Like, and I don't see you saying we're trying to see where he work at so we could garnish his wages or something. It seems like all of this is we gearing it towards trying to get stuff from her. That's what it's looking like. I don't know. I don't know about spitting on somebody, but like I said, let's go back to the complaint. We did go over to the complaint, so some of you guys might not have been here. So let's go to the let's read exactly what the complaint is alleging was done by the parties. Maybe that'll help us out, because I did kind of skim through it because I was trying to get to what we was here for today. So the first cause of action, hold on. It was a lot of facts, so you might want to pull the bar back to get to a lot of facts. It's battery. On March 22nd, 2019, Petty hit Windermere in the face either with his fist or some other weapon. When Petty hit Wiedemuller, he did so intentionally to cause harmful and offensive contact. Wiedemuller did not consent to Petty's conduct. As a result of Petty's improper and unlawful conduct, Wiedemuller suffered significant harm in the form of a broken jaw and the resulting medical expenses, physical, emotional pain, and economic loss. All he did was mention Petty, but he didn't specifically say on the top, this cause of action is against Petty. So you just assume he's talking about both of them. I'd have tried to dismiss that joint, at least that claim. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Defendants, so they talking about both of them, interaction with Wiedemuller after the concert, during which both Minaj repeatedly verbally accosted Wiedemuller. Petty hit Wiedemuller, and Minaj failed to maintain a safe environment and exacerbated Petty's violent behavior, were outrageous. That would have not done nothing in trial. That is not considered intentional infliction of emotional distress, extreme and outrageous behavior. If you look at the definitions in the case law, it's a very difficult claim to win. That's not, you're basically saying she failed to maintain a safe environment and exacerbated his violent behavior. We're outraged. That don't even make no sense. I would ask to dismiss that claim. Then say defendants in acting outrageously intended for Wiedemuller to suffer emotional distress or acted with such reckless disregard of the likelihood that Wiedemuller would suffer emotional distress, knowing that Wiedemuller was present when the outrageous conduct occurred. As a result of defendant's conduct, he suffered severe emotional distress. I don't think that would have even flew on a motion to dismiss. Defendant owed Wiedemuller a duty to maintain the physical and emotional safety of Wiedemuller during their interactions with him following the concert and refrain from causing him physical and emotional harm. Defendant negligent breached the duty by repeatedly verbally assaulting him and by virtue of Petty's physical battery of Wiedemuller. As a result of defendant's negligence, Wiedemuller suffered serious emotional distress. I don't even think that would have even flew. Fourth cause of action is negligence. I'm saying this against Nicki Minaj. Fourth cause of action, defendant Minaj owed Wiedemuller a duty to maintain a physically and emotionally safe environment during her and defendant Petty's interaction with Wiedemuller following the concert. Despite being aware of Petty's erratic, violent, and aggressive tendencies, she repeatedly spurred Petty to act in a destructive and physical harmful manner. Like what? In light of Minaj's failure to maintain a physically and emotionally safe environment, she negligently breached her duty. As a result of Minaj's negligent conduct, Wiedemuller suffered significant damages in the form of physical injuries, emotional distress. Civil conspiracy. Plaintiff Minaj and Petty discussed, colluded, and planned to inflict physical and emotional harm upon Wiedemuller due to his involvement with security issues at the concert. They don't even know that. They would have to prove that. Specifically, Minaj urged Petty to repeatedly engage Wiedemuller rather than accepting Wiedemuller's apology. So basically, they're saying because she told him about it and he called Wiedemuller while he went back to work to come and discuss the incident. So instead of just accepting the apology, she told him about it and she could have just left it alone and left him out of it and think that's a civil conspiracy. Upon information and belief, she did so with the intent to inflict harm upon Wiedemuller. So basically, they don't know. Upon information and belief. And so doing, Minaj and Petty formed and operated a conspiracy to harm Weddingmuller and did harm Weddingmuller through Petty's battery of Weddingmuller. As a result of the conspiracy, Minaj and Petty inflicted damage upon Weddingmuller. Yeah, she should have fought this. I did a motion to dismiss to respond to this. It was something about a shoe, but I can't remember what it was. But I thought whatever it was with a shoe. Mm-mm-mm. I don't know. I don't remember. All right. Yeah, I mean, clearly that's where the money resides. So that's because I don't what? But it is what it is now. It's a judgment. You can't even try to get the default set aside. It's probably happy when she ain't respond. It was like, yes. So I don't know. Just pay the money. Like, why would you want to sell your house and them pay all the debtors off and all of that for that? Just pay the money. The judgment is what it is. There ain't really nothing you can do about it at this point. Well, she can't. You said I find it hard to believe that 3 years she didn't try to dismiss it. The problem is once the default is entered, you can't even be in the case until you do a motion to try to set the default aside. So it steps to it. Once they enter a default, then typically if the other side sees about it, they'll do a motion to set the default aside. They'll give good cause why they didn't respond, and then they'll give their defenses about how they probably gonna win and blah, all of that. But this is odd to me. I don't know. You said she confronted the security guard, then her husband confronted him, then they had him come back and confront him again. Yeah, but the problem is what I'm saying is the assault, they didn't mention her name at all. So I'm assuming they were just trying to get her on like emotional distress and saying it was outrageous. She was just cussing people out. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying that's not the level of extreme and outrageous behavior. Um, and it just seems like they tried to weave her in it because she is the one that had the money. So they tried to weave her in it. That's just my assessment of it. I don't understand why she wouldn't have just kind of tried to fight this bug. I don't understand. She got the money. Like it's not like she don't have the money. He's asking. He didn't even get $1 million. He got a $500,000, almost $600,000 judgment. And again, her home is worth 20 million. So she got like a $13 million lien on it. That's it. So to sell a whole house just so you can pay so he can get his money directly out the proceeds, just write the check. We know she got it. Just saying. Do we know if the man sued? No, he did not. He sued Nicki Minaj and her husband. Let me pull up the complaint again. On this complaint, now if it's some other complaint, I'm just saying, and this was filed in 2022. So it's him versus Kenneth Petty and Onika Tanya Mirage Petty, aka Nicki Minaj. So this was in 2022. They just got their judgment in 2024. You said Erica Kirk got some mess on her hands with the Romanian Angels mess. I don't know nothing about that, child. I guess I'm out the loop. Ducking and dodging don't pay. I don't even like, why not? You got it. Y'all just, She avoided being served several times. Yeah, I think they did end up doing it by publication. I think you might be right. Let me pull up this docket. Right. I feel like I read something about that too. Let me see. Let me pull up this here docket. So let's go to they start from the beginning or they start. All right, so let's go over this docket real quick. Make sure y'all hit the like button if you haven't done so. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Where's this at? I'm trying to. What's this it? Okay. So January 27th of 2022, the complaint was filed, and then they had all of this stuff too. The little stuff you got to put to it. Then April 12th of 2022, oops, sorry. April 12th of 2022, they did do an application for publication. So they got an order to do it by publication. Then they did show proof in June that they did the publication. Then January 27th of 2023, they did a request for entry of default. And they did another one on March 29th because it looked like there was a rejection of some sort. Looked like another rejection was there. April 5th, there was a request for entry of default. Then there was another rejection on April 14th. Good gosh. April 17th, they did another one. It must have been something they were doing paperwork-wise that was inadequate. So then on April 28th, they did a request for entry of default and judgment, did their declarations, request for entry on August 15th, 2023. Showed that they mailed it off. They did their declaration. February 16th, request for entry of default judgment. Oh my God. So they ended up getting the judgment on March 22nd of 2024. And it was a certificate of mailing, some type of rejection and rejections. And then they did their writ of execution, as they talked about, April 11th, 2025. California be so complicated how they do their stuff. So then on October 6th, they did the order, order for sale of dwelling, application for order for sale of dwelling, and declaration of order selling of the dwelling. It was a continued. Then on November 24th, this is probably a proposed order. I don't think it was entered yet. And then they amended it. And that's what we got on January 15th. Amended notice of motion and application for order authorizing the sale of that's what we just went over today. And then there was some declaration that was filed. So he is the only one, Weidenmuller or whatever his name is, Mueller, the only one that has participated in this case, as you all see. Okay, she has not participated in this case at all, which there's the problem. Toria says she always don't answer court proceedings. Really? I didn't know she really had any like that. And says she won't listen to anybody, Andrew. I don't know. Nicki got 500K in her piggy bank. Exactly. She probably could sell some of them purses and outfits and get $500,000. You said her ego won't write the check. Well, that's what the court is for. They'll help tame the ego down. That's what they'll do. Because baby, ain't nothing more messed up when you got a for sale sign and you get somebody that go by your house that you don't like. They like, oh, it's for sale? Okay. Because I ain't gonna lie, when I seen Whiteheads was foreclosed, and I told Deb, I was like, do we want to move to New Jersey? Do you want to go back home? I think I might want to buy that house. I think it's nice. And then I realized I wasn't doing it because I really wanted to move to New Jersey. I just was doing it because I ain't like Whitehead. You know what I'm saying? So You said she probably really forgot about the situation because it happened. But them court papers was coming from California though. They was coming from the States. So yeah, I don't know. She confronted the security guard. Oh, I already read that. All right. I just wanted to make sure I got all of y'all comments. All right, y'all. That's all I got. You said, why was the judgment so low for assault? So when you do a judgment, when you do a default judgment, obviously the other party isn't there. So you have to show why you're getting that amount. And that would be the surgeries, the reconstruction. I don't know if it includes, I assume it includes attorney fees and costs or whatever. I'm not sure. So they come up with that number. You have to prove whatever you're trying to get from them that you get the judgment on. They don't just say, I think it's worth this. I think if you went to trial, if it made it that far, I just don't see it. I wouldn't have seen Nicki Minaj stand in the case because I'm not really seeing the connection. I get it. She was the one that was yelling and was pissed off and taking it to, the rafters. But I mean, that was him that decided to take it to a whole nother level and just break his jaw. That's what I see. Okay. I wasn't there, but it just sounds like that's something he chose to do. And they weren't even married at the time either. Yeah, I'd have been like, I ain't got nothing to do with this. And I did a motion to dismiss. I don't understand the point of not responding to this. I don't know. I guess I don't get it. But we wish you well, Miss Minaj, and all of that. You said you can't sell something you don't own. Oh, okay. Pam is more than him suing them. She has a stylist and makeup artist suing for because she don't pay her. What? Like, child, tax deduction. You got millions. Like you said, you've been paying millions of dollars in taxes to the United States. Now they will take your taxes. They don't. Hmm. Because I think even Russell Simmons, when he went and got his citizenship over there in Bali, Indonesia. When he went over there and got his citizenship, he still was paying taxes there because I think he had houses. It was something in that complaint how that works. So they still take your money. Still pay his taxes though. Okay, you think you can do that? We don't care if we might send ice to your front door tomorrow. We still want you to pay your taxes. So anyway, there's that. Well, we wish you luck, Miss Minaj, and we hope that you don't have to sell your home because they said it's the dwelling. They looked it up. They know that you stay there. They said your husband's registry is at that address. Remember, there was an issue that he had a violation because he didn't register when they moved or something, and you got to register. The thing about when you become on the registry list, the ex-offender list, you have to register every time you move. It don't matter if you're moving across the city. You can move next door. They supposed to know your address at all times. And so there was a situation, I guess, where no address was put out there. And he was gotten little trouble for that. So, like I said, when the Gavin Newsom situation happened, he looked it up, looked his name up and stuff, and the address and everything popped up there. I was like, oh, y'all playing real rough. Okay. You said, I don't know about that. I mean, I think she just could write the check. It could have been worse. Because if they would have went to trial and somehow he was able to keep her on the hook, I think they would have went for millions. Because I would have broken jaw. You can't talk, you can't eat, you got to sit through straws. Then you had to have multiple surgeries. There's a lot of people that only had to have one. You get your mouth wired and that's that. But like you had to go multiple surgeries. He got you real good. And you still had like 6 more you had to get after you had already had a whole lot before that. Yeah, no. The surgeries alone was pain and suffering. That to me was worth $1 million. So all that extra stuff, I agree with you when you like, well, how you only get 500? Sometimes you get assault and it's like it don't really do anything. Like it's hard to almost prove that it was any any type of damages because it really didn't do much. That right there, a broken jaw where you was in the hospital for 10 days, have multiple surgeries, have future anticipated surgeries, and have to get some type of reconstruction surgery, yeah, I'd hit you for the millions. That's how that would have went. The thing is, I just don't see how, unless you can prove that it was at the direction of her. And that's what I feel like the headlines were saying. I didn't get that from the complaint unless I overlooked something. I can see that she kept, maybe he was taking it like maybe she told him, you not doing enough, why you ain't do nothing or something, but you got to prove all of that to get her in. I think that's what they was hoping they can prove. And perhaps if people were around, they would help them and testify and support that. So I don't know. I don't know. You say he needs to sign up for MMA fightings. Oh yeah, he's got some pain. That's some pain. Because first of all, you got sucker punch for real. It was a sneak. He like go to the side. But I'm interested, like as security, typically they're more aware. You seen him when he got behind you. And nothing made you like want to move yourself to make sure you in his view. Because that's how security, from my understanding, is taught. Like you know all the points and know what's going on with everybody around you at all times. So the fact that you saw him and allowed him to be in a position where you were vulnerable is interesting to me too. But that's neither here nor there. You know what? He's cracking jaws like Kimbo Slice. Anyway, y'all, we've been on here for over an hour. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for hanging out with your girl. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for the new subscribers. If anything else happens, you know we'll be back on live to talk about it again. And if you are not a member, make sure you consider joining our membership. We have a good time in there. And I'm going to talk to y'all later.